The dream stay. James and Monica Carter were no ordinary couple. Both had worked tirelessly for years to build their dream business from the ground up. James, an ambitious entrepreneur, had turned his small tech startup into a multi-million-dollar success. Monica, a brilliant financial consultant, was the driving force behind their financial planning, ensuring that every business move was calculated and sound. Together, they were a power couple, a force to be reckoned with. For years, they had dreamed of staying at the luxurious Crestwood Towers, a five-star hotel that stood as a symbol of wealth and success. The hotel was the epitome of opulence, frequented by celebrities, politicians, and business moguls. Its sleek glass facade towered over the skyline, its name synonymous with extravagance. Every time they passed by it, they'd imagine what it would be like to stay there, even just for a night. Now that dream was about to become a reality. "Can you believe it?" Monica asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement as she stepped out of the car, her heels clicking against the pavement. James smiled, admiring his wife's enthusiasm. "We've earned this. It's about time we celebrated all the hard work." They had booked the best suite in the hotel, and though it cost a small fortune, it was a symbolic gesture to themselves, a reminder that they had made it. As they approached the entrance, the doorman opened the large golden doors for them, ushering them inside with a nod. The lobby was breathtaking, with marble floors that reflected the light from a grand crystal chandelier hanging above. The air smelled of luxury, a blend of fresh flowers and expensive perfume. Guests in designer clothing casually walked by, and staff in tailored uniforms scurried around, ensuring every whim was catered to. Monica took a deep breath, savoring the atmosphere. "This is going to be a night to remember." James chuckled, giving her hand a squeeze. The start of many more, hopefully. As they approached the front desk, the receptionist barely glanced at them, busy typing away at her computer. James cleared his throat, expecting a warm welcome. After all, they were paying a hefty price to be there. But instead of the usual politeness they'd come to expect at high-end establishments, the receptionist looked at them with a hint of disdain. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone cold and distant. James smiled, trying to brush off her rudeness. "Yes, we have a reservation under Carter, the penthouse suite." The receptionist's eyebrows lifted slightly, but instead of checking the system, she seemed to hesitate. Her eyes scanned them both, as if appraising whether they really belonged in such a prestigious place. She leaned closer to the computer screen, her fingers typing slowly, purposefully delaying the process. "I'm sorry, but I can't seem to find your reservation," she said after a few minutes, her tone laced with skepticism. Monica's smile faltered, but she remained calm. "We booked it over a month ago. It should be there." James, sensing the tension, pulled up the confirmation email on his phone. "Here, we have the confirmation number. Maybe there's just a mix-up." The receptionist barely glanced at the phone. "I'll need to speak to my manager. One moment." She turned on her heel and disappeared into the back room, leaving James and Monica standing awkwardly at the desk. Monica frowned, her excitement dampened by the receptionist's cold attitude. What's her problem? "We're paying customers like everyone else." James shrugged, but inside, a familiar feeling of unease started to creep in. They had faced discrimination before in more subtle forms, side glances, whispered comments, but this felt different. This felt intentional. A few minutes later, the manager appeared, a tall, stern-looking man in a sharp suit. He didn't greet them or apologize for the inconvenience. Instead, he stared at them with an expression that made it clear they weren't welcome. "We seem to have an issue with your reservation," the manager said flatly. "I'm afraid we won't be able to accommodate you tonight." Monica blinked in disbelief. "What do you mean? We have a confirmed reservation." "I understand, but there's been an oversight. The suite is no longer available," the manager said, his voice dripping with condescension. James narrowed his eyes, his frustration rising. "That's not acceptable." We paid for that suite, and we have proof. How can it just no longer be available?" The manager's expression didn't change. "I'm sorry, but we'll have to ask you to leave." Monica's jaw dropped. "Are you serious? You're just going to kick us out?" The manager folded his arms, standing firm. "I'm afraid so. We've refunded your payment. You'll receive it within 3 to 5 business days." James clenched his fists, his heart pounding with anger. "This is outrageous. You're refusing us service for no reason." The manager's gaze hardened. "You're free to contact customer service if you have complaints, but as of now, you need to leave." Monica felt her pulse quicken, the sting of injustice burning through her. "This is because we're black, isn't it?" she asked quietly, her voice trembling with a mix of hurt and fury. The manager didn't respond, but the silence that followed said more than words ever could. James took a deep breath, his mind racing. He had always prided himself on keeping his composure, on being calm under pressure, but this was too much. He could feel the eyes of the other guests watching them. Some curious, some judgmental, as if they were witnessing a spectacle. He wasn't going to give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. "Let's go, Monica," James said finally, his voice steady but filled with quiet rage. "We'll deal with this later." Monica hesitated for a moment, her eyes filling with tears, but she nodded, letting James guide her toward the door. As they stepped out into the cool evening air, the weight of what had just happened settled heavily on their shoulders. They had been humiliated, treated like they didn't belong, and kicked out of a place they had dreamed of staying. But little did they know, this moment of rejection would set in motion a series of events that would change their lives forever. As they walked away from the Crestwood Towers, heads held high despite the sting of injustice, neither James nor Monica could have predicted what was about to unfold. This was only the beginning, a seed of change. James and Monica drove in silence, the weight of the evening hanging heavy between them. The hum of the car engine filled the void, but the air was thick with unspoken emotions. Monica stared out of the window, the city lights blurring past, her mind racing with the humiliation and anger that bubbled inside her. "I can't believe that just happened," she whispered, breaking the silence. "We did everything right. We've worked so hard to get to where we are. And still, this." James's knuckles widened as he gripped the steering wheel tighter. He was seething, the sting of the hotel's rejection still fresh. "It's not the first time we've been treated like this," he muttered, his voice low and controlled, but there was an edge to it, like a storm brewing just beneath the surface. Monica turned to him, her eyes flashing with determination. "But it has to be the last." James glanced at her, his anger softening for a moment as he saw the fire in her eyes. He knew that look. It was the same look she had when they decided to start their business together. The same look she had when they faced impossible odds and came out on top. It was a look that said, "We will not be broken." "We need to do something," she continued, her voice growing stronger. "We can't let them get away with this. If they treated us like this, imagine how many others they've done this to." James nodded, his mind already turning over possibilities. He had always believed in action, in using setbacks as fuel for something greater. This was no different. They had faced prejudice before, but this time it felt personal. It wasn't just about the insult. It was about the system that allowed such behavior to go unchecked. "You're right," James agreed. "But we need to be smart about it. We can't just go in guns blazing. If we're going to make a change, we need to hit them where it hurts the most." Monica raised an eyebrow. "And where would that be?" "Their reputation," James replied, a small smirk forming on his lips. "Hotels like Crestwood Towers thrive on prestige, on being a place where the elite go to be pampered. They can't afford to have their name associated with discrimination." Monica's eyes lit up with understanding. "You're thinking of going public?" James nodded. "But not yet. First, we need to gather our evidence. We document everything. The rude receptionist, the refusal of service, The fact that they couldn't even give us a valid reason for kicking us out. We build a case so strong that when we go public, they have no choice but to respond. Monica leaned back in her seat, her mind racing with possibilities. We'll need to be careful. These kinds of places have powerful people behind them. They'll try to silence us. They can try, James said, his voice resolute. But they've messed with the wrong couple. We've built something out of nothing before. We can do it again. Monica smiled, the weight of the evening beginning to lift. I'm with you. Let's turn this into something bigger than just us. As they pulled into the driveway of their modern home, nestled in a quiet, upscale neighborhood, the anger they had felt earlier had transformed into something more. Resolve. They were going to fight back, not just for themselves, but for everyone who had ever been told they didn't belong because of the color of their skin. Over the next few days, James and Monica began their plan in earnest. Monica, with her sharp attention to detail, started gathering all the information they could use. She documented the entire incident, emails, photos, even a video they had taken while standing in the lobby, which showed the hotel's staff walking by without offering any assistance. They reached out to other guests who had faced similar treatment, compiling a list of complaints that stretched back years. James, on the other hand, began working behind the scenes. He had connections in the tech world and used them to leverage media contacts. He reached out to influential journalists and activists who had a history of fighting against racial injustice. He knew that in the world of social media, a single story could go viral and bring down even the most powerful institutions. All they needed was the right moment to strike. But as they delved deeper into their plan, something unexpected happened. One afternoon, as Monica was sitting at her desk, combing through the research they had gathered, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She hesitated for a moment before answering. Hello, Mrs. Carter. This is Linda Brown from Crestwood Towers. Monica's heart skipped a beat. She recognized the name immediately. Linda was the head of public relations at the hotel. The voice on the other end sounded calm and polite, a far cry from the treatment they had received during their stay. How can I help you? Monica asked, keeping her tone professional. I wanted to reach out to personally apologize for the inconvenience you and your husband experienced during your stay. Linda said, her voice smooth and rehearsed. We value all of our guests, and it appears that there was a misunderstanding. Monica's eyes narrowed. A misunderstanding. Was that how they were going to spin this? She had anticipated an apology at some point, but the way Linda brushed off the severity of the incident as if it were some minor inconvenience made her blood boil. We would like to offer you a complimentary stay in one of our finest suites as a gesture of goodwill, Linda continued. We hope that this will allow us to make amends and ensure that your next experience with us is nothing short of exceptional. Monica clenched her jaw. They thought they could buy their silence with a free stay. After everything they had been through. That's very generous of you, Monica replied, her voice tight. But I think you're missing the point. This wasn't about a misunderstanding. We were discriminated against. You can't just sweep that under the rug with a free night's stay. There was a pause on the other end, and when Linda spoke again, her tone was slightly more cautious. I understand your frustration, Mrs. Carter, and we are taking steps to ensure that incidents like this don't happen again. We take these matters very seriously. Monica wasn't buying it. Do you? Because from what I've seen, this isn't an isolated incident. We've been doing our research, and it seems like this is part of a larger pattern. Another pause. I'm afraid I can't speak to any other complaints, but I assure you, we are addressing this internally. Monica's mind raced. This was an opportunity. I appreciate the apology, but we're not looking for a free night's stay. We're looking for real change. How about this? Instead of offering us a suite, why don't you sit down with us and discuss how Crestwood Towers can address its systemic issues with discrimination? Linda hesitated. I'm not sure I have the authority to. Then put me in touch with someone who does. Monica interrupted. Because we're not going to let this go. Not this time. After a long pause, Linda finally agreed to set up a meeting with someone from the hotel's upper management. Monica hung up the phone, her heart racing with a mixture of nerves and excitement. She had expected the hotel to brush them off, but this was a new development. A meeting with upper management could give them the leverage they needed to push for real change, or, if nothing else, to expose the hotel's unwillingness to confront its own problems. When she told James about the call later that evening, he was just as surprised. "They must know we're planning something," he said, his brow furrowed in thought. "Maybe," Monica agreed. "But this could be our chance to really make a difference. If they're willing to talk, we might be able to force their hand." James nodded, though his expression remained cautious. "Or they could just be trying to pacify us before we go public." Monica shrugged. "Either way, we're in control now. They came to us, not the other way around." As the days passed and the meeting approached, James and Monica knew that they had to be prepared for anything. Whether the hotel's management was serious about addressing the issue or not, this meeting would be pivotal. But little did they know, their fight for justice was about to take an unexpected turn, one that neither of them could have predicted. The meeting of minds. The day of the meeting arrived with an air of nervous anticipation. Monica and James dressed meticulously, ensuring their outfits reflected their professionalism and confidence. James wore a navy suit that accentuated his strong physique, while Monica chose a sleek black dress that embodied both elegance and authority. They were no longer just a couple seeking justice. They were a formidable team ready to confront the systemic issues they had encountered. Arriving at the Crestwood Towers, the hotel's grandeur seemed to mock their recent experience. The same polished marble floors and gold-trimmed chandeliers now felt like a gilded cage, a stark contrast to the pain they had endured. Monica squeezed James's hand as they approached the receptionist, who greeted them with a professional smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter, please take the elevator to the 10th floor. You'll be meeting with Mr. Thompson," she instructed, her tone suggesting they were more than just guests. As they ascended in the elevator, the tension between them grew palpable. Monica took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, turning to James. "More than ever," he replied, determination etched across his features. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone who's ever been treated unfairly." The elevator doors opened with a ding, revealing a pristine conference room filled with natural light. A long, polished table stretched across the room, and seated at one end was Mr. Thompson, the hotel's general manager, flanked by two other executives. They were sharply dressed, their expressions a blend of curiosity and concern, as they looked up from their papers. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter, thank you for coming," Mr. Thompson said, rising to extend his hand. "I appreciate your willingness to meet with us today." Monica shook his hand firmly, her heart racing with a mixture of nerves and resolve. "Thank you for having us," she replied, her voice steady. They took their seats, and as James began outlining their experience, the atmosphere shifted. He spoke about the discriminatory treatment they faced, the humiliation they endured, and how it reflected a larger issue within the hospitality industry. The executives listened intently, occasionally exchanging glances, their expressions shifting from skepticism to concern. "We've done our research," James continued, "and what we experienced is not an isolated incident. There are numerous accounts of racial bias and discrimination tied to your establishment. We're here to discuss what changes can be made to ensure that no other guests have to endure what we did." Mr. Thompson leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "I want to assure you that we take these claims very seriously. It is not the image we want to project, and I apologize that you experienced this firsthand. Our intention has always been to provide exceptional service to every guest." Monica took the opportunity to interject. "Apologies are a start, but we need more than that. We need concrete actions that demonstrate your commitment to change. We want to discuss a diversity training program, transparent hiring practices, and a public commitment to anti-discrimination policies. If you truly want to make amends, those are steps you must take. The executives exchanged uneasy glances. Mr. Thompson's expression hardened slightly. While I understand your concerns, implementing such measures is not as simple as it sounds. It requires a substantial investment of time and resources, and we have a business to run. James leaned forward, his intensity sharpening the atmosphere. We understand that, but what you're missing is the long-term benefit. A diverse and inclusive environment can significantly enhance your reputation and appeal to a broader customer base. It's not just about doing the right thing. It's about business growth and sustainability. Moreover, Monica added, her voice resolute, you need to recognize that silence is complicity. If you don't take a stand against discrimination, your reputation will continue to suffer. Social media moves fast, and there are many voices ready to expose injustice. This is your chance to show leadership in the industry. Mr. Thompson shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his hands steepled in front of him. What you propose is ambitious. I cannot promise anything today, but I assure you that we will take your suggestions into consideration. Would you be willing to provide a written outline of your recommendations? Monica exchanged a quick glance with James. This was the opening they needed. We can absolutely do that, she replied. But we also want to be part of the conversation as you implement these changes. We believe it's essential to have voices that represent the communities affected by your policies at the table. A silence settled in the room, and for a moment, it felt as though the executives were considering the gravity of their situation. They were at a crossroads, caught between maintaining the status quo and risking the backlash of the community they have failed. Mr. Thompson cleared his throat. I can't promise anything, but I'm willing to explore the possibility of working together. If you can provide a detailed proposal, I'll present it to our board for review. Perhaps we can arrange follow-up meetings to discuss this further. James and Monica shared a knowing smile, sensing that they had made significant progress. Thank you, James said, his tone softer. We appreciate your willingness to engage in this conversation. We want to see genuine change in the hospitality industry, starting with your hotel. As the meeting progressed, they discussed the proposed initiatives in detail, emphasizing the need for accountability and transparent communication. They outlined a plan for training staff on cultural competency, hiring practices that actively sought diversity, and creating a feedback mechanism for guests to report discrimination. After an hour, as the meeting came to a close, Mr. Thompson leaned back in his chair, his expression thoughtful. I must admit, I came into this meeting skeptical, but I see now that we have a significant opportunity here, not just to address the incident involving you, but to initiate broader change within our organization. Monica and James nodded, their hearts swelling with hope. They were not just advocating for themselves. They were paving the way for a brighter future for countless others who had faced similar injustices. Let us know when you want to meet again to discuss this further, James said as they stood to leave. We look forward to working together. As they stepped out of the conference room, the sunlight flooded over them, illuminating their path forward. They had walked in feeling like victims, but they were leaving as advocates for change. In the days that followed, they poured their energy into drafting a comprehensive proposal. Monica's meticulous nature shone through it as she outlined every detail, while James focused on the broader vision. They crafted a plan that not only addressed the immediate issues, but also laid the groundwork for long-term sustainability and accountability. Their proposal included sections on the importance of community involvement, suggested partnerships with local organizations, and a detailed implementation timeline. They included testimonials from other guests who had experienced discrimination, reinforcing the need for change. Once the proposal was finalized, they sent it to Mr. Thompson, who responded promptly, expressing appreciation for their thoroughness and indicating a desire to meet again soon. The following weeks were a whirlwind of meetings, discussions, and planning sessions. Monica and James found themselves collaborating closely with the hotel's management, offering insights and recommendations. Their voices began to carry weight within the organization, and they soon realized that they were not just advocating for themselves, but for a larger movement. As the media began to pick up on the story of their fight against discrimination, the Carters found themselves in the spotlight. News outlets reached out for interviews, and social media buzzed with support from those who resonated with their cause. They became symbols of resilience, a testament to the power of standing up against injustice. But with newfound visibility came challenges. Critics emerged, questioning their motives and accusing them of trying to ruin the hotel's reputation. Some argued that they were simply seeking publicity, and the backlash weighed heavily on them. Yet, through it all, James and Monica remained united. They focused on their mission, recognizing that change rarely comes without resistance. They continued to push for the necessary reforms, determined to leave a lasting impact. One evening, as they sat together in their living room, reflecting on the journey they had undertaken, Monica looked at James, her heart swelling with pride. "I never imagined we'd be doing this. It feels surreal, doesn't it?" James smiled, taking her hand. "It does. But this is just the beginning. We're not only changing the narrative for ourselves, but for everyone who comes after us." Monica nodded, her eyes glistening with determination. "And we're going to make sure that no one else has to go through what we did." As they settled into a comfortable silence, they knew that their fight was far from over. They had sparked a conversation, ignited a movement, and with each step, they were reshaping the landscape of the hospitality industry. But one thing was clear. They had become more than just a couple fighting against injustice. They had become a force for change, driven by love, resilience, and a vision for a better future. Trials of change. The months rolled by like a film reel of their journey, each frame a vivid representation of progress and challenges. The initial meetings with Crestwood Towers had blossomed into a full-fledged partnership. James and Monica had become integral to the hotel's diversity initiative, attending board meetings, training sessions, and community events, all while navigating the complexities of the hospitality industry. Yet, with every triumph came new obstacles, testing their resolve and commitment to their cause. It was early morning when Monica received a call from Mr. Thompson, the hotel's general manager. The conversation began with pleasantries, but quickly turned serious. "Monica, we need to discuss something urgent," he said, his voice tinged with concern. "There's been significant backlash from some of our longtime clients regarding the changes we're implementing. They feel that we're compromising the exclusivity and luxury of the hotel." Monica's heart sank. She had anticipated resistance, but the weight of it pressed heavily on her chest. "What kind of backlash?" she asked, trying to remain composed. "There's a growing sentiment that our commitment to diversity is diluting the brand," Mr. Thompson continued. "Some clients are threatening to take their business elsewhere unless we retract some of our policies. They're vocal and influential within the community." She took a deep breath, her mind racing. "We can't allow a few voices to derail the progress we've made. This is about creating an inclusive environment for everyone, not just catering to a select few." "I agree," Mr. Thompson replied, his tone thoughtful. "But we have to find a way to communicate this to our stakeholders without alienating them. Would you be willing to join me in a meeting with the board to discuss our strategy moving forward?" "Absolutely," Monica said, her determination flaring. "We need to be transparent about our vision. I'll bring James along. We can present the benefits of our initiatives and how they align with the hotel's long-term goals." As she hung up the phone, Monica felt a mix of anxiety and resolve. This was not just about their partnership with Crestwood Towers anymore. It was about standing up for what was right and ensuring that their hard work didn't go to waste. She turned to James, who had just walked into the room, coffee mug in hand. "Bad news?" he asked, reading her expression. "Worse than I expected. Some clients are threatening to pull their business unless we revert the changes we've implemented," Monica explained, pacing the floor. "We need to meet with the board to strategize, but I'm worried they won't see the value in what we're doing." James set his mug down and stepped closer, wrapping his arms around her shoulders. "We can't let them win. Our mission is bigger than any one client's opinion. This is about transforming the industry." Monica nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "You're right. We need to be prepared and present a strong case. Let's gather data on how diversity and inclusion have positively impacted other hotels and businesses. If we can show them the numbers, it might help sway their perspective." That evening, they spent hours researching case studies, gathering statistics, and drafting a compelling presentation. They found that hotels with diverse leadership teams tended to outperform their competitors in customer satisfaction and profitability. Armed with facts and a renewed sense of purpose, they felt ready to face the board. The following week, the meeting took place in the same conference room where they had initially confronted the hotel's management. This time, however, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Board members exchanged worried glances, their anxiety palpable. James and Monica took their seats at the table, their presence a reminder of the very issue at hand. "Thank you for joining us today," Mr. Thompson began, clearing his throat. "As you know, we're facing some resistance regarding our new initiatives. We believe it's important to address these concerns head-on." Monica stood up, her heart racing. "Thank you for this opportunity. We understand that change can be daunting, especially in an industry that thrives on tradition. However, we firmly believe that embracing diversity is not only the right thing to do, but also essential for the hotel's future success." She clicked through their carefully prepared slides, showcasing data and testimonials from guests who had experienced discrimination in the past. She spoke passionately about the importance of creating a welcoming environment for everyone and how the hotel could lead the way in the industry. "Your commitment to diversity can enhance your brand," James added, his voice steady. "Consumers today prioritize businesses that reflect their values. By championing inclusivity, you're not just doing the right thing. You're tapping into a growing market that values and demands change." However, not everyone in the room was convinced. A board member, Mr. Carlyle, a longtime investor in the hotel, leaned back in his chair, arms crossed defensively. "But what about our current clientele? We've built our reputation on exclusivity and luxury. Are we really willing to risk that for a fleeting trend?" Monica felt a surge of frustration, but kept her composure. "This isn't a fleeting trend, Mr. Carlyle. It's a societal shift. Consumers are becoming more aware of social justice issues and are choosing where to spend their money based on those values. If we want to maintain our relevance in this market, we need to evolve." The discussion became heated, with several board members voicing their concerns while others began to rally behind Monica and James' vision. It became a tug of war, each side pushing for their perspective to prevail. After what felt like hours of back and forth, Mr. Thompson finally raised his hand, silencing the room. "Let's take a moment to consider our long-term vision. I believe we need to reframe the conversation. It's not about excluding anyone. It's about expanding our reach. What if we crafted a strategy that preserves our brand while also incorporating these changes?" James exchanged a hopeful glance with Monica. "That's exactly what we need. A balanced approach that recognizes the value of diversity without compromising the hotel's core identity." Slowly, the tide began to turn. The board members began brainstorming ideas, suggesting ways to integrate diversity into the hotel's branding, while still appealing to their existing clientele. The conversation evolved from one of resistance to collaboration, and a sense of unity began to emerge. As the meeting concluded, Mr. Thompson turned to Monica and James, a look of gratitude on his face. "Thank you for your insight and passion. We wouldn't have reached this point without your voices. Let's work together to draft a revised proposal that reflects this new direction." As they left the meeting room, Monica felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. "We did it," she exclaimed, a smile spreading across her face. "They're finally starting to see the value in what we're doing." James pulled her into a tight embrace. "This is just the beginning. We're turning this ship around, one meeting at a time." However, the victory was bittersweet. While they had made significant strides within the hotel, the backlash from some clients continued to simmer. Social media was abuzz with comments, both supportive and critical. The couple had become both advocates and targets, and the spotlight, while illuminating their cause, also magnified their vulnerabilities. One evening, as they prepared dinner at home, Monica received a notification on her phone. It was a message from a well-known influencer in the hospitality industry, someone who had been critical of their initiatives. "I see you're trying to change the hospitality game, but are you really just chasing clicks and likes?" The message read, dripping with sarcasm. "You're going to ruin this hotel." Monica felt a wave of frustration wash over her. "They're missing the point. This isn't about us. It's about making a difference," she said, her voice tight with emotion. James stepped beside her, placing a comforting hand on her back. "Don't let it get to you. For every negative comment, there are countless people who support our mission. We can't lose sight of why we started this journey in the first place." With his words echoing in her mind, Monica decided to take a different approach. She began documenting their journey more openly on social media, sharing not just the triumphs, but also the struggles they faced. She posted about the backlash, the obstacles, and their unwavering commitment to creating change. The response was overwhelming. Supporters rallied behind them, sharing their own stories of discrimination and injustice, further amplifying their cause. In the weeks that followed, Monica and James found themselves at the forefront of a burgeoning movement within the hospitality industry. Their story resonated with countless individuals, each sharing their own experiences and calling for change. The hashtag change in hospitality began trending, and soon, other hotels began reaching out to collaborate on diversity initiatives. However, with growing recognition came increased scrutiny. Some board members at Crestwood Towers remained skeptical, fearing that their initiatives would alienate the traditional clientele. Monica and James faced mounting pressure to prove that their efforts would not compromise the hotel's luxury image. In a pivotal meeting with the board, James spoke passionately about their mission. "We can't allow fear to dictate our actions. Yes, we need to be mindful of our existing clientele, but we also have a responsibility to lead by example. Let's not just react to the fears of a few. Let's build a brand that's recognized for its values." As the discussion continued, Monica noted a shift among the board members. They began considering ways to showcase the hotel's commitment to diversity without compromising its luxury status. By incorporating cultural events, partnering with diverse vendors, and highlighting community involvement, they could create a narrative that embraced inclusivity while maintaining the hotel's prestigious reputation. Finally, after weeks of negotiations, they reached a consensus: a new marketing campaign that highlighted the hotel's commitment to diversity while celebrating its history and luxury. The campaign would feature stories from diverse guests and staff, showcasing the hotel as a welcoming space for all. That evening, as Monica and James celebrated their small victory at a local restaurant, they couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. "We're making a difference, one step at a time," James said, raising his glass in a toast. Monica smiled, her heart full of hope. "And we're just getting started." But beneath their joy lay the knowledge that their journey was far from over. They still faced challenges ahead, including the skepticism of some board members and the public scrutiny. The fight for equality in the hospitality industry was ongoing, and they were determined to see it through. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, the glow of the restaurant's lights reflected the warmth in their hearts. Together, they would navigate the uncharted waters ahead, armed with hope, resilience, and an unwavering belief in their mission. They were not just changing a hotel, they were igniting a movement, one that would ripple through the industry for years to come. A leap of faith. With the launch of the new marketing campaign, Monica and James felt the surge of anticipation coursing through them. They had invested countless hours into crafting a message that resonated with both the hotel's existing clientele and the broader community. It was a delicate balancing act, and they were determined to ensure it succeeded. The campaign kicked off with a vibrant event at Crestwood Towers, celebrating diversity and inclusion in hospitality. The hotel transformed into a colorful hub of culture, showcasing the culinary delights of different regions, art displays from local artists, and performances by musicians representing a variety of backgrounds. Guests were invited to share their stories, emphasizing how the hotel had positively impacted their lives. As the event approached, Monica and James poured their energy into finalizing every detail. They coordinated with vendors, arranged entertainment, and sent out invitations to community leaders, influencers, and media outlets. Each day felt like a whirlwind, but their passion kept them motivated. They knew that this was a pivotal moment, not just for them, but for the entire hotel and the industry at large. On the day of the event, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement. The lobby was adorned with vibrant decorations, and the scent of gourmet dishes wafted through the air. Guests mingled, sharing laughter and stories, and the energy felt electric. James and Monica stood side by side at the entrance, greeting attendees with warm smiles. "Can you believe this turnout?" James exclaimed, his eyes scanning the crowd. "It's incredible." Monica nodded, her heart swelling with pride. "This is just the beginning. We're creating a space where everyone feels welcome and valued." As the evening unfolded, speeches were made, including one from Mr. Thompson, who expressed gratitude to Monica and James for their tireless efforts. Tonight is a celebration of unity and diversity. It's a testament to the power of change and the importance of inclusivity in our industry. We have a responsibility to lead by example, and with the help of James and Monica, we're doing just that. The applause was thunderous, and Monica felt a rush of emotion. This was the moment they had fought for, proof that their voices mattered, and that change was possible. As the night progressed, a stirring moment arrived when a young woman named Maya took the stage. She was a recent college graduate and one of the first recipients of a scholarship program the hotel had initiated to support aspiring hospitality professionals from underrepresented backgrounds. Maya shared her story of overcoming adversity and how Crestwood Towers had opened doors for her. "I stand here tonight not just as a graduate, but as a representation of what's possible when we invest in our community," Maya said, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "This hotel believed in me when no one else did. They saw my potential, and that's what diversity is all about, seeing the potential in everyone, regardless of where they come from." Tears welled in Monica's eyes as she listened to Maya speak. It was a powerful reminder of why they were fighting for this change. They weren't just advocating for diversity, they were creating opportunities for future generations. As the night came to a close, James and Monica stood on the balcony overlooking the city, reflecting on the event. The skyline twinkled in the distance, a stark contrast to the challenges they have faced. "Can you believe how far we've come?" James said, wrapping an arm around Monica's shoulders. "Just a few months ago, we were fighting to be heard. And now look at this." Monica smiled, her heart brimming with gratitude. "It's incredible, but I know we still have a long way to go. The response has been overwhelmingly positive, but we can't get complacent. There are still people who don't understand the importance of what we're doing." Just as she spoke, a notification pinged on her phone. It was a message from a local news outlet. They wanted to feature a story on the hotel's new initiatives and the event's success. Monica felt a surge of excitement. This could be the exposure they needed to further their cause. "Look at this. The media is interested in covering our story," she said, showing the message to James. "This could really help us reach more people." James's eyes lit up. "We need to be ready for this. Let's prepare for interviews and ensure we communicate our mission clearly." The following days were a whirlwind of activity as they prepped for the media coverage. Interviews were scheduled, and they spent hours practicing their responses, honing their message to convey the significance of their work. They wanted to ensure that the focus remained on the broader impact of diversity and inclusion in hospitality, rather than just their personal stories. As the interviews began, Monica felt a mixture of nerves and excitement. They sat down with reporters, sharing their vision and discussing the positive changes they were witnessing at Crestwood Towers. "This isn't just about our hotel," James emphasized during one interview. It's about reshaping the narrative in our industry. Diversity is not a trend. It's a necessity for growth and innovation. Monica echoed his sentiments, adding, "We want to inspire others to take action, to understand that they have the power to create change in their communities and workplaces." The coverage was met with widespread acclaim, garnering positive reactions from both the hospitality industry and the general public. As the story spread, James and Monica began receiving invitations to speak at conferences and events across the country. They were eager to share their journey and encourage others to pursue similar initiatives in their organizations. Yet, with recognition came the reality of facing critics. Some established industry leaders publicly dismissed their efforts, labeling them as politically correct or just another marketing gimmick. While these comments stung, Monica and James leaned on each other for support, reminding themselves of the bigger picture. "Remember why we started this," James would say whenever they faced backlash. "We're not doing this for recognition. We're doing it to make a difference." One evening, as they reviewed their speaking engagements, Monica received a call from a fellow diversity advocate, Linda. "I've been following your journey, and I'm so impressed with what you've accomplished. I'd love for you and James to join us for a panel discussion on diversity in hospitality at the National Hospitality Conference next month," Linda proposed. Monica's heart raced with excitement. "We'd be honored to participate. Thank you for the opportunity." As they prepared for the conference, the couple dove deep into their research, identifying key points to share during the panel. They focused on tangible strategies for fostering diversity, such as mentorship programs, community engagement, and creating inclusive hiring practices. On the day of the conference, they arrived at the bustling venue, surrounded by industry leaders and innovators. The atmosphere crackled with energy as attendees gathered to hear their insights. Monica and James took their seats on stage, heartbeats quickening in anticipation. As they spoke, their passion resonated with the audience. Monica articulated the importance of representation in leadership roles, emphasizing how diverse teams drive innovation. James shared stories of individuals whose lives had been transformed by the hotel's initiatives, highlighting the human impact behind their efforts. The room erupted in applause as they concluded their discussion. After the panel, attendees flocked to speak with them, eager to learn more about implementing similar programs in their own establishments. In the following weeks, Monica and James continued to speak at various events, spreading their message and inspiring others to take action. Yet, amid the success, they remained grounded, knowing that true change takes time and persistence. However, the growing momentum began to unveil deeper challenges within the industry. As they engaged with more organizations, it became apparent that not all were ready to embrace diversity wholeheartedly. Many establishments were hesitant to implement change due to fear of backlash from traditional clientele or resistance from long-standing employees. One afternoon, as Monica reviewed feedback from a recent workshop they had conducted, she came across a troubling comment from a participant. "I appreciate the effort, but our clientele doesn't want to see these changes. They come here for the exclusivity, and we risk losing them if we push too hard." Frustration bubbled within her. How can we expect to make a difference if we're afraid of alienating the very people who need to change their mindset? She voiced to James later that evening. James nodded, his expression contemplative. "It's a delicate balance. We can't force change on people, but we also can't allow fear to dictate our actions. We need to find allies within these organizations who believe in our mission and can help us shift the narrative from within." As they strategized, they decided to focus on building relationships with influential figures in the hospitality industry, those who understood the importance of diversity and were willing to champion their cause. They reached out to executives from other hotels and organizations, inviting them to join their workshops and share their experiences. Slowly, they began to cultivate a network of allies committed to driving change. These partnerships created a ripple effect, leading to discussions about forming a coalition of hotels dedicated to diversity and inclusion. They envisioned a future where hotels would share best practices, collaborate on initiatives, and collectively advocate for industry-wide reforms. As the idea gained traction, Monica and James organized a summit to bring their coalition together. They reached out to leaders from various hotels, restaurants, and hospitality organizations, emphasizing the power of unity in effecting change. The summit was a transformative experience, as representatives from different establishments gathered to share ideas and insights. It became clear that many shared the same struggles. Together, they brainstormed solutions and crafted a collective mission statement, one that championed diversity, inclusion, and community engagement across the hospitality sector. As the summit concluded, Monica and James felt a renewed sense of hope. They had ignited a movement that extended far beyond Crestwood Towers, paving the way for a more inclusive industry. That evening, as they celebrated the summit's success, Monica reflected on their journey. "We've come so far, James. This is what we envisioned, an entire community coming together to foster change." James raised his glass, his eyes sparkling with determination. "And we're just getting started. The fight for equality and inclusion in our industry is far from over, but together, we can make a real difference." As they clinked their glasses, Monica felt a surge of gratitude for the journey they had undertaken. The challenges they had faced, the victories they had achieved, and the community they had built were all testaments to their resilience and commitment to creating a more equitable world. With their sights set on the future, they knew that they were not just advocates for diversity. They were pioneers of a movement that would reshape the hospitality industry for generations to come. And as they continued their work, they carried with them the stories of those they had uplifted. Their mission was fueled by the belief that everyone deserves a seat at the table, regardless of their background. A legacy of change. As Monica and James continued to build momentum in their mission for diversity and inclusion within the hospitality industry, they found themselves at the forefront of a movement that was rapidly gaining traction. With the summit a resounding success, they were invited to speak at various conferences, workshops, and events, sharing their vision and inspiring countless others to embrace change. Months passed, and with every engagement, they witnessed a profound shift in the industry's attitude toward diversity. More and more hotels began to adopt their model of inclusive practices, and the narrative around representation began to evolve. However, with their growing recognition came increased scrutiny and the inevitable challenges that accompanied such visibility. One day, as they were preparing for yet another speaking engagement, Monica received a phone call from a prominent hotel chain that was interested in partnering with them to implement their diversity initiatives across all its properties. Excitement surged through her as she listened to the representative detail the proposal. "This is incredible," Monica exclaimed, her heart racing. "We've been wanting to partner with larger chains to expand our impact." However, as she listened to the fine details, a sense of caution crept in. "What about the training and ongoing support? We want to ensure that these initiatives are more than just surface-level changes." "Absolutely," the representative replied. "We see the value in a comprehensive approach. Our CEO is committed to making real change, and we want you and James to lead the training programs." After hanging up, Monica shared the news with James. "This could be our opportunity to effect real change on a grand scale," she said, her eyes shining with enthusiasm. James nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. "It's exciting, but we need to be strategic. We don't want our message diluted by corporate interests. We have to ensure that our values align with theirs." As they weighed their options, they decided to meet with the hotel chain's leadership team to discuss their vision and expectations. The meeting was a turning point. Monica and James articulated their commitment to authenticity and genuine representation, emphasizing that any partnership needed to prioritize meaningful change over mere marketing. "We want to ensure that the diversity initiatives we implement reflect the communities we serve," James stated firmly. "It's not just about meeting quotas. It's about fostering an inclusive culture from the ground up." The leadership team listened intently, nodding in agreement. After a lengthy discussion, they found common ground. The hotel chain was genuinely interested in collaborating on training programs, mentorship initiatives, and community outreach efforts, and they recognized the need for ongoing evaluation to ensure the effectiveness of their programs. With the partnership solidified, Monica and James launched into planning. They envisioned a series of workshops and training sessions that would engage employees at every level of the organization, from frontline staff to upper management. The aim was to create a shared understanding of the importance of diversity and equip employees with the tools to foster an inclusive environment. As they developed the curriculum, they drew upon their experiences at Crestwood Towers and the feedback they had received from their community initiatives. The training emphasized not only the ethical responsibility of embracing diversity, but also the tangible benefits it brought to the organization, such as increased employee morale, improved customer satisfaction, and enhanced innovation. The first workshop was a mixture of excitement and anxiety for both Monica and James. They arrived at the hotel chain's headquarters, where employees from various locations had gathered. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, and as Monica looked around the room, she felt a mix of nerves and determination. James took the lead, kicking off the session with an engaging introduction. Today, we're not just here to talk about diversity. We're here to engage in a conversation that will help us reshape our workplace and better serve our guests. Monica followed with a presentation that highlighted the statistics and stories that underscored the need for diversity in the hospitality sector. She shared powerful anecdotes of individuals whose lives had been transformed by inclusive practices and the ripple effect it created in their communities. Throughout the workshop, they encouraged open dialogue, inviting participants to share their experiences and thoughts. The discussions ranged from the challenges of implementing diversity initiatives to the benefits they had witnessed in their own workplaces. The energy in the room was palpable, and as the day progressed, Monica and James saw the shift happening before their eyes. After the workshop, many employees approached them with questions and expressions of gratitude. One young woman named Elena said, "I never realized how important this was until today. I want to be a part of this change." Hearing these words fueled Monica and James's resolve. They were not only teaching but igniting a fire within individuals who were eager to make a difference. As they traveled to different locations for additional workshops, they witnessed the same enthusiasm, solidifying their belief that change was possible. Weeks turned into months, and the partnership flourished. They collaborated on various initiatives, including mentorship programs designed to uplift underrepresented staff, community service projects that connected the hotels with local organizations, and scholarships for aspiring hospitality professionals. With each successful program, Monica and James felt the impact of their work ripple through the industry. However, amid their success, they encountered pushback from certain quarters. Some traditionalists within the industry were resistant to the changes being implemented, viewing them as a threat to the status quo. Social media debates erupted, with individuals passionately arguing for and against the initiatives. Monica felt the weight of the criticism, but James reminded her, "Change is always met with resistance. We can't let negativity distract us from our mission. Focus on the positive impact we're making." With renewed determination, they continued their outreach and advocacy, sharing their successes and emphasizing the importance of persistence. They began to document their journey through a blog and social media platforms, sharing not only their achievements, but also the challenges they faced and how they overcame them. As their following grew, they received messages from individuals across the country who were inspired by their story. People shared how their own organizations were beginning to implement similar initiatives, and they expressed gratitude for the courage Monica and James had shown. One evening, as they reviewed the responses to a recent blog post, Monica's heart swelled. "Look at this, James. So many people are sharing their stories and ideas. We're creating a community of changemakers." James smiled. "This is just the beginning. We have the potential to start a movement that goes beyond our initial vision. We can influence not just hotels, but all industries." With this vision in mind, Monica and James began to organize a national conference focused on diversity and hospitality. They invited speakers, panelists, and participants from various sectors to share their experiences and insights. The goal was to create a platform where industry leaders could collaborate, learn from one another, and develop actionable strategies for promoting diversity and inclusion. As the date approached, the excitement grew. The conference promised to be a melting pot of ideas and inspiration, bringing together individuals who were all dedicated to creating change. When the day finally arrived, the venue buzzed with energy. Attendees arrived from all corners of the country, eager to engage in discussions about diversity and its impact on the industry. Monica and James took the stage, and the applause echoed through the auditorium. They shared their journey, highlighting the challenges they faced and the victories they had achieved. They emphasized the importance of collaboration and how each individual had the power to contribute to a more inclusive future. The conference featured a range of sessions, from interactive workshops to panel discussions, each focusing on different aspects of diversity and hospitality. Participants exchanged ideas, shared resources, and brainstormed solutions to common challenges. One breakout session, led by a seasoned hotel manager, resonated deeply with attendees. She shared her experiences of implementing diversity initiatives within her hotel and the tangible benefits it brought to her staff and guests. When you create a space where everyone feels valued and included, you not only enrich your workplace but also enhance the experiences of your guests. It's a win-win, she asserted. By the end of the conference, a palpable sense of camaraderie filled the air. Attendees left inspired, equipped with new ideas, and a renewed commitment to fostering diversity within their organizations. Monica and James stood at the exit, exchanging heartfelt goodbyes with participants, their hearts brimming with hope for the future. In the months that followed, the ripple effect of their efforts continued to grow. The hospitality industry began to see a shift toward inclusivity, and the conversation around diversity expanded into other sectors. Monica and James received requests to speak at conferences across various industries, and they welcomed the opportunity to advocate for change in a broader context. However, they remained grounded in their mission. The focus was not merely on recognition or accolades. It was about creating a lasting legacy, a world where diversity was celebrated and integrated into the fabric of every organization. One evening, as they reflected on their journey, Monica turned to James with a thoughtful expression. "Do you remember when we first got kicked out of that hotel? It felt like the world was against us, but it sparked something so much bigger than ourselves." James nodded, a knowing smile on his face. It was a turning point, a catalyst for everything that followed. "I wouldn't change a thing." As they sat together, the sun setting in the distance, they envisioned a future filled with hope and possibility. They knew their journey was far from over, but they were more determined than ever to continue advocating for change. Their commitment to fostering inclusivity would not only leave an indelible mark on the hospitality industry, but would also inspire countless others to embrace diversity in their own lives and organizations. Monica and James were not just champions of change. They were architects of a movement that would resonate for generations to come. And so, with their hearts full of hope and determination, they stepped into the future, ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. Their journey was a testament to resilience, empowerment, and the belief that together, they could create a world where everyone belonged.